Welcome to the Deep Dive. We take stacks of incredible sources, pull out those key nuggets so you can be truly well informed. Today, we're stepping into a really unsettling world. Encounters that kind of blur the line between myth and, well, terrifying reality. We've got this collection of first-hand accounts, stories that plunge you right into moments of just sheer terror, unexplainable stuff. Our mission here is really just to recount these deeply unsettling experiences exactly as they were shared with us. We'll pull out the most chilling details, the impact they had. And it's important to say, these are personal stories, told by people who absolutely believe they encountered something horrific. Often called skinwalkers in Native American folklore, we'll be telling them in the third person for you. Okay, so let's get into this first one, a really chilling story. Starts in a town on the Gulf of Mexico. Our subject, he was just a young boy then, his house, right next to this huge, enormous field. His bedroom was on the opposite side of the living room from his parents, and the front door was right there in that main living area. He often stayed up late, way later than his parents, usually playing video games. This one night, he actually fell asleep playing Super Mario RPG on the SNES, mid-battle apparently. Then he wakes up suddenly. Hears his father's voice calling him into the living room. So he gets up, walks out of his room, and immediately notices it's pitch black. Every light in the house is off. He calls out, "Dad?" And the voice answers, calls him by his name, beckoning him from the living room. But the living room's empty, completely empty. The only light is this dim glow from a street lamp nearby, just kind of seeping through the blinds. He calls out, "Dad?" again. But this time, the voice comes from beyond the front door, outside. Looking back, he knew something was wrong, right? But he's a kid. It's the middle of the night. He hears his dad's voice. His first thought is Dad needs help. So he starts walking towards the front door, slowly. He's confused, still groggy. As he gets closer, his dad calls to him again, then again, and a third time. Each call sounds friendly, but urgent. He's right there, hand almost on the doorknob. But he pauses. This feeling washes over him.
Something is deeply, deeply wrong. He tries to focus, clear his head. Is he dreaming? Sleepwalking? No, he's definitely awake, perceptive. No mistaking it. Then, after a moment of silence, he hears the voice again. But this time, it's stern, like his father's voice when he was really in trouble. It commands, "Get out here now." Okay, now he thinks it's serious. He reaches for the door, and right then, the single most terrifying moment of his life happens. His mother appears, right behind him. Just appears there. Her voice is calm, totally different from the urgency outside. She just asks, "Son, what are you doing?" He tells her, "Dad's outside calling me. I think he needs me." And her reply, it just shattered his world. She says simply, "Dad's in the bedroom asleep." That phrase. He says it's one of his most vivid, chilling memories. He knew, absolutely knew, he wasn't dreaming or sleepwalking. He remembers waking up just before hearing that voice. He was just utterly exhausted by the fear, that sick feeling you get. He just mumbled goodnight, shuffled back to his room, and basically passed out from emotional exhaustion. He's told this story for 20 years now, exactly the same way.
It's one of his clearest childhood memories. He can't say for certain it was a skinwalker, but he does note, these things are said to use tactics just like that, to lure people.
Yeah, this account, it perfectly illustrates that core tactic you hear about in Skinwalker lore. Exploiting trust, right? Bypassing rational thought.
Yeah.
From a psychological standpoint, hearing a parent's voice, especially calling for help, triggers an almost automatic response. It can override critical thinking, particularly when that urgency escalates. It's a primal vulnerability. And these entities in the stories seem expertly poised to exploit it. They turn our most comforting cues into, the biggest threats.
That is fascinating. The way it shifts, too, from friendly to stern, like it's testing him, pushing his instincts. What does that suggest about the intelligence people attribute to these things in the folklore?
Well, it suggests a pretty acute intelligence, almost predatory. These aren't just random hauntings in the tales. They're described as having this malevolent cunning. They seem to understand human emotional triggers, our cognitive weak points. They know exactly how to manipulate a situation, step by calculated step. It really twists the familiar into something truly terrifying.
Yeah. Terrifying. Okay, so from the intimacy of a home invasion by just a voice, we now shift setting to the wilderness. More expansive, but just as terrifying. Our next account, this is a camping trip, went horribly wrong just a few years back. Our source was out with friends. One of them happened to be of Navajo descent. First night, totally fine, enjoyable, just guys camping, But the second night, things took a really sharp turn. One of the campers wakes up. It's about 1:10 a.m., needs to relieve himself. So he gets out of the tent, heads toward the tree line, does his business, turns back towards the tent, and that's when he sees it. On the opposite side of the clearing, there's a deer. But it's walking across the field on its back legs bipedal. a person, not just like standing up briefly. No, it was strolling. The guy said it was like it was heading to the office or something. And then it turns its head, faces him, freezes. They just stare at each other for what felt like forever. He said the creature was tall too, it towered over him. Eventually, he snaps out of it, starts shouting, trying to wake his friends up. The deer thing immediately bolts, sprints into the trees, still on two legs. And as it runs, it lets out this horrific screech. He described it as sounding like a little girl crying, but sort of corrupted, like there was static from a TV set in its voice. Horrible. His two friends scramble out of the tent. What the hell is that? What's wrong? They both heard the screech. He explains what he just saw, and his Navajo friend just turns ghostly pale. He says, "We should go. Let's pack up. Head for the truck. Now." The other friends, I mean, they're totally freaked out too. They don't argue. The Navajo friend starts telling them more about skinwalkers, then saying how once you've seen them, you don't want to stick around for long. They'll come back for you, and they might not come back alone. Chilling thought. So they finally get everything packed, get back to their truck, but their relief. Short-lived, they see a dog near the truck. Now, what's a dog doing way out here, alone, especially after that? They're already on edge, obviously. They approach slowly, the dog's facing the truck. But as soon as it hears them, its whole body goes stiff. It doesn't just instantly turn its head like a normal dog would, you know. Instead, it slowly turns its head first, then its whole body. Very unnatural. And there was something really disturbing about its face, human-like. It had giant eyes, too big for its head, he said, like a person's eyes, with large whites with the colored iris. Wide, defensive looking. Its face was just frozen in this snarl, teeth showing. The dog just sort of backed up a little, turned, and then scurried away into the woods. As they're driving off, fast, the Navajo friend asks if they noticed something. It didn't have a tail. He explained that's another sign, a sign of a skinwalker. They drove straight to his parents' place. His father performed some kind of ritual on them, didn't even question their story, just did it. The next morning, his parents wouldn't let them leave without taking these small, like, totem things for protection, they said, to keep the things away. Seems to have worked, maybe. He says the encounter stopped, but he still checks outside his bedroom window every single night before sleeping, just in case.
Right. And this account, the details like the bipedal movement, those unnervingly human features in an animal form, these are really recurring themes in these kinds of legends. It suggests a consistent pattern, doesn't it, of unsettling shapeshifting. And the missing tail is a classic tell. In a lot of shapeshifter myths, you see this idea that the animal form might be too perfect, or it might have these subtle, unnatural distortions. Missing limbs, wrong eyes, or no tail. It's often the giveaway that you're not looking at a real animal, but something much more sinister, just wearing its skin.
That idea of something wearing an animal's skin, that's incredibly creepy. And the Navajo friend's reaction, just, we need to leave now, it points to this deep cultural understanding of the danger, doesn't it?
Precisely. And for listeners interested in the deeper lore, it's worth knowing that skinwalkers, or Yinaldlushi, as they're known in Navajo, are often believed to be malevolent witches, people who've gained the power to shapeshift, usually through forbidden kinds of magic. Their abilities, like the distorted forms and mimicry we heard about, they aren't just random. They're seen as tools to create fear, disorientation, often targeting people who are alone or vulnerable. Even just speaking their name is believed to attract your attention. It really underscores the profound respect and fear they command within that culture.
I've seen them exploit trust, distort nature, but what happens when they actually physically try to breach a home? This next story takes us back to the 1980s. Deep in the Cheska Mountains, pretty remote area. A little girl, 6 years old, named Sandra. She was at a family reunion. They were staying in this cabin in a meadow, and there was an old stone well nearby. So, typical reunion day. Sun starts to set, family heads into the cabin. Adults plan to sleep in the bedrooms. The kids were put on cots in the living room. As Sandra's getting tucked in, she just feels this intense unease. Tossing, turning. Couldn't shake this weird feeling. Suddenly, that unease just flips into raw fear. She hears something. Big, something heavy, she said, moving across the porch outside. Her first thought was maybe a bear looking for food. Then she sees this large black shadow pass by the window. It's heading for the front door, and she realizes they hadn't locked it. She just watches frozen as the doorknob starts rattling back and forth. She's too scared to move, too scared to scream. And whatever's trying to get in succeeds. The door swings open. The room instantly fills with this putrid and horrific stench. Just awful. Then she sees it. A large human hand reaching through the doorway. That finally breaks the spell. Sandra screams for her father. Her dad runs in, sees her pointing at the door. He sees the hand, too. He yells for his brother, "Grab the gun!" Whatever it was. It fled. Ran off the porch. It was a full moon, so there was some light. They see this creature run across the yard. Her dad's brother comes in with the rifle, looks through the scope, sees the creature crouching behind the stone well. Sandra's father still thinks maybe it's a bear. He tells his brother, take the shot. He pulls the trigger. They hear the bullet ricochet off the well stone. Instantly, any thought of it being a bear just vanishes. Gone. Because then the creature stands up on 2 feet and runs towards the tree line. They never saw it again.
Yeah, that's a stark moment, isn't it? That confrontation. Especially when the initial understandable assumption it's a bear gets completely shattered. That detail, the bullet ricocheting and then the creature standing on 2 legs, it forces this immediate terrifying shift in understanding. They're not dealing with wildlife anymore. It's a classic element in many supernatural accounts, actually, where the entity reveals its true unnatural nature. It moves beyond the familiar right into the truly inexplicable.
And the stench. You mentioned that. It's such a common detail in these kinds of stories, right? Almost like a signature for something bad. Does that detail have a specific significance in the lore?
Oh, it absolutely does. That overpowering putrid smell, often described like rotting meat, or just something foul and otherworldly. It's reported frequently in these types of encounters. Some theorize it's maybe a consequence of their unnatural state, or perhaps a byproduct of the dark magic involved. Whatever the reason, it acts as this sensory assault. It underscores their non-human, malevolent presence, designed to sicken you, disorient you.
Okay, our 4th encounter now. This brings us much closer to the present, just 2 years ago, and the location shifts to the Maine woods. An 18-year-old was at their family camp in Dedham, a place they'd owned forever, visited their whole life, never had any incidents before. One night, late, everyone else is in bed. They're just watching TV. They hear a noise, sounds like it's coming from the kitchen, realize the dogs probably need to go out. So they take their 2 pit bulls and also this tiny little Afghan pinscher named Alfie outside. Now, the porch light, it barely cuts through the darkness. Maine woods are incredibly dark at night. They let the dogs off leash. The pit bulls immediately just stare intently into the woods, laser focus. The person starts looking around for Alfie. She's tiny and she's black, so hard to see in the dark. They call Alfie's name a few times. Then they hear it, soft whimpering. Coming from the woods, right where the pit bulls are staring. Okay, now they're worried. Maybe she's stuck on something. They take a couple of steps toward the woods, call her name again. Suddenly, they feel something moving behind them. They whip around, look down, and there's Alfie, the little dog. She'd been right there the whole time. They just hadn't seen her in the dark. And that realization hits them like ice water. Wait, if Alfie's here, then what the heck is in the woods making that noise? They take another hesitant step forward. The pit bulls start to growl now, low, serious growls. The dogs slowly advance, positioning themselves on either side of the person flanking them, staring right into that blackness. The person quickly scoops up Alfie, holds her tight, and starts backing away, very slowly, towards the cabin door. Right as they turn around to get inside, they hear it. What they described as the absolute most bone-chilling thing they had ever heard coming from the woods. Something called Alfie's name, A-L-F-I-E. But it sounded like an attempt to mimic a human voice. Maybe their voice, but it was all wrong, distorted. It almost sounded like it was wailing the name. They totally freaked out, ran inside, dogs scrambling with them, slammed the door. Their camp, it's a log cabin, overlooks a lake, nearest neighbor, at least half a mile away and in the opposite direction from where the sound came. They have no idea what was out there. But they had heard stories about skinwalkers doing similar things, playing tricks to lure people into the darkness.
That raises a really important point about fear itself, doesn't it? How confirming a sound, like the whimpering, but then having that sudden unsettling revelation, Alfie's right here can trigger this instinctive primal terror, especially when something familiar, like a name, is mimicked, but imperfectly. That specific detail, calling the dog's name, but it being all wrong, distorted, that's a classic psychological horror technique, and it's incredibly effective in this account.
Yeah, it's like a mental jump scare, isn't it? You think one thing, then the reality hits, and the fear goes way deeper than just a quick fright. How does that whole mimicry done wrong thing play into the lore? Is that common?
It's actually considered a signature characteristic in many accounts. While these entities are sometimes described as capable of near-perfect mimicry, often there's a subtle distortion, a slight wail, an unnatural intonation, something just, often the voice. That imperfection is often the telltale sign that it's not truly human, or not truly what it's pretending to be. It seems like a deliberate psychological tactic to disorient, to terrorize. It plants that seed of doubt, which then blossoms into pure dread once the truth is revealed. Lure you in with the familiar, then twist it into horror.
Okay, one final account for this deep dive. We travel now to Shiprock, New Mexico. This happened just last October. Now, many Navajo people there are very, very reluctant to talk about skinwalkers. The family our source was visiting included. It's a common belief. Talking about them attracts their attention. But this person, they grew up away from the Navajo Nation. They were, in their own words, naive and an absolute skeptic about the whole thing. Their mother had told them a story once from the 80s about seeing a skinwalker, described it as a black dog, dirty fur, one front leg all twisted like a noodle, he said, and these unnatural eyes with a soft, burnt kind of glow. The person, being logical, doubted every word. Never said it out loud, but didn't believe it. Well, those doubts completely vanished last year. They'd just come back from the carnival at the Navajo Nation Fair, walked home to their grandparents' house. It was late, after 2:04 a.m. They're all sitting around catching up, and the person just ignorantly blurts out, "Hey, are skinwalkers real?" Their grandma reacts with what they described as an almost disturbed yell, saying, "You shouldn't be speaking about that." Okay, point taken. Not wanting to push it, they all decide it's late, let's just go to bed. It's an old trailer home, windows open, but screens are on. Nice night. Everyone falls asleep pretty quickly, except our subject. Just as they're finally starting to relax, drifting off, they hear something moving outside. They get up quietly from the couch, walk over to the kitchen window. All the lights are off inside. The only light is the porch light up front. They scan the area. Dusty ground, couple of vehicles parked there, old metal trash cans by the road, nothing. After about 5 seconds of seeing absolutely nothing, they turn to go back to bed. Probably just a stray cat, right? They take maybe 2 steps. Then they hear it. A distorted scream. Coming from outside. Definitely close by. Fear spikes. They look outside again. And there it is, a coyote-like figure. Staring right at them from behind the parked cars, just outside the edge of the porch light's reach. It looked, quote, absolutely wrong. Gave off this really evil vibe, grayish color, very disheveled hair, and its eyes, a horrific orange reddish glow. At that same moment, they start noticing that awful stench again, like rotting meat hanging in the air. They try to wake up their mom, who's sleeping nearby. She's annoyed at first, groggy. It's almost 3 a.m., probably just a stray. The person, desperate now, basically yells that there's some Blair Witch Project shut going on outside, Ma. Yeah. Okay, that got her attention. Then both of them hear more of those dreadful screams, and sounds like something thrashing around on the ground outside. They both look out the window again, and the coyote thing. It's walking towards the front door. It walks with this weird limp, dragging its back right leg like it was injured or handicapped. They can hear it start scratching at the door, making this odd, muffled, moaning sound. The mom gets the dad up. They both start shouting things in Navajo, telling it to go away, that it's not welcome there. All the commotion wakes up the rest of the family. They come into the hallway, confused. The mom just turns to them, says one word, "Skinwalker," points at the door. And apparently everyone knew exactly what that meant. The grandfather immediately goes to a drawer, gets a handgun, and a small bag of ashes. He takes a few bullets, coats the tips in the edge, loads the gun, goes right to the door, yelling more Navajo words, too fast for the person to understand. He swings the door open, fires twice into the darkness. Bang, bang, nothing. The thing was gone. It managed to escape before he could hit it. Other family members were really distraught then, scared it would come back, wondering if they were targets now. Afterwards, the grandparents calmed everyone down, assured them they'd be okay. The next morning, first thing, they called over one of their neighbors, who happened to be a medicine man. He came over, blessed each member of the family, and blessed the grounds all around the trailer. The person telling the story, now very convinced they saw a skinwalker, but they say they still plan on going back to visit family, still plan on going to the fair, just hoping very much to avoid another experience like that.
Wow. That encounter, it really vividly demonstrates that immediate, almost ingrained community knowledge, doesn't it? And the specific cultural response to the threat. It highlights just how deep these beliefs run in certain communities. It's a really practical application of cultural understanding right in a moment of crisis. The use of those traditional methods, the ashes on the bullets, calling the medicine man for a blessing, these are powerful actions. They're rooted in centuries of belief and practice, emphasizing that for them, these aren't just abstract, scary stories. It's a very real potential threat within their worldview.
That's such a critical point. It's not just about being scared. It's about facing a known threat with these established, culturally specific defenses. What about the detail of the dragging leg or the twisted limb? Especially since the mother's earlier story mentioned a noodle-like front leg on the dog she saw. Is there significance there?
That is a fascinating and surprisingly consistent detail in these types of accounts. Beyond the missing tail we heard about earlier, these kinds of physical deformities, a limp, a twisted limb, they serve as another common tell for a skinwalker in animal form. It's often interpreted as signifying that the transformation isn't perfect, or maybe that the human consciousness, the human essence within the creature, is somehow struggling against its animal disguise. It represents a visible imperfection, something that signals profound unnaturalness. It's a subtle clue, perhaps, for those who know what to look for, that this isn't just an ordinary animal. It's something truly malevolent and distorted.
So as we kind of wrap up here and reflect on these accounts, they are truly chilling, and you see those common threads emerge, don't you? The mimicry of voices, those unnatural animal forms, that pervasive sense of dread, and just the profound, lasting impact these moments had on the people who lived through them. It really makes you wonder, what does it mean when these ancient stories seem to manifest in such terrifying, tangible ways? Are they just stories, or are there maybe layers to reality that we're only just barely beginning to perceive? Well, if these stories have sent a few shivers down your spine, you'll definitely want to explore more like them. Please remember to hit that like button, share this deep dive with others who appreciate a good scare, and definitely subscribe to our channel, Horror Docx, for more chilling tales. Until next time, stay safe out there in the dark.